We have a couple of stations that you can come up and interact with, and we'll sort of scatter around the room to have some smaller conversation in circles so that everyone has a chance to be heard. And some of those stations will address more specifically some of the items that are in the slides. We just wanted you to have a chance to be able to take a closer look, to ask some specific questions. I've got Nick on up here with me as well. He put together the traffic model that is in the presentation. We'll show a video of that, but he can show you more details of that and how it's built out if you are interested at the conclusion of the presentation. So I think in the invitation that we sent out, we talked about this as really a continued conversation, specifically from our most recent community meeting here at the Convention Center, which took place on March 26th. But in that conversation, Vic Bidet and Mayor Castor were here and talked on a higher level about some of the things and the longer-term plans in the southern part of downtown, the expected changes that we see coming, and then sort of narrow down more closely to this area in front of the Convention Center, Franklin specifically, from Channelside down onto Harbor Island. Though that was actually a continuation of a much broader community involvement effort. Way back in early 2020, we had a similar meeting to this, actually formatted in the same way, in that we had workstations around the Convention Center conference room to gather input and to understand what the concerns were on that stretch of roadway. In addition to that, the Mayor Castor had a Coffee with Castor event at the Westin. We've had several one-on-one conversations with a lot of you who are in the room. But if this is your first time, I'm glad that you're here and that we have an opportunity to talk to you and to gather your feedback as well. So from that March 26th meeting, we had several takeaways that as a city we have advanced. Some of them are still on the way, but I wanted to go over some of the takeaways that have been implemented and the status of some of the things we've done since that time. One of them, the screen looks a little bit washed out, so hopefully you can see it, and if not, I can definitely show you at the conclusion of the meeting. Am I getting the lights? We'll see if lowering the lights will help. But in any case, there we go. The eastbound rightmost lane off of Channelside Drive onto Franklin previously was a shared through and right. We reconfigured it to be a right turn only lane. We added a right turn phase. You can see in the rightmost picture. And the intent behind that was to give drivers their own dedicated green time to sort of deconflict that movement with the pedestrians on the southern crosswalk. In addition to that, we reduced the speed limit on Franklin and Harbor Island Boulevard south of Water Street to Knights Run from 30 miles per hour down to 25 miles per hour. And then something else that you all had asked us to pursue was reconfiguring the lanes on the other access to the island at Beneficial. If you don't know, that intersection is actually owned by the Expressway Authority, but we've been coordinating with them, and they have agreed to make the change that was requested, which is to say that as it stands right now, that rightmost lane is a right turn only lane. On the south side of that intersection, there is a second receiving lane, and so we will reconfigure that right turn only lane to a shared through and right lane, so that there are two lanes going across onto Beneficial. We had kind of expected that to be done at this point, but it's not really under our control. It is THIA and their coordination with their contractor. So we are somewhat subject to whatever limitations they had in that arrangement. But again, they have agreed to pursue that, to implement it. And then the other thing that we did after this meeting was to pilot the closure of the crosswalk between the Convention Center and the Dick Greco Plaza. And I think there were maybe some miscommunication in the community about some of the decisions behind that, what we did and why we did it. So I wanted to spend just a little bit of time talking about what our reasoning was for doing it the way that we did and what we expected to simulate there. So you can see, maybe you can see, hopefully you can see, in the picture on the left, we did put up fence-style barricades on either side of the streetcar tracks across the crosswalk itself. And then on the lower picture, you can see that we put those same style barricades across the east side of that crosswalk as well, so across the ramp itself. We wanted to put it in place such that it simulated what would be a longer-term implementation. And so for that reason, we could only go so far with those barricades. On the west side of the road, I may have said east earlier, sorry if I did. On the west side of the road, on the convention center side of the road, their driveway is immediately south of there, so barricading across that obviously is not going to make a lot of sense for a temporary or permanent configuration. And then on the east side of the road, there is a Heart shelter there. It is not currently in use, so I want to acknowledge that. But if we were going to implement a closure and some sort of barricade on that side of the road, we would not be permanently closing off their access to that for future use. So for that reason, we also did not barricade off in the temporary configuration. So that was kind of the reasoning for the setup. You probably cannot see on this, my apologies, but the orange and white barricades, the little A-frames, and the picture on the left, there's a sign on it that says crosswalk closed. And in the picture on the right, that's sort of on the near side, the approach to the crosswalk, it is a directional sign that directs pedestrians to the next nearest crosswalk, whether Channel Side on the north side or Water Street on the south side. So in the course of that pilot, we implemented it on June 24th in the evening, and by the next morning we had some unsolicited feedback from Heart that people were behaving in unsafe ways. In addition to that, the convention center gave us similar feedback. It just was a little bit chaotic. You can see the circles in between both this slide and the previous one are highlighting people who are crossing outside of where the expected crossing is, where we directed them to go. And so it was a pretty consistent right out of the gate that people were crossing wherever they wanted to. And the disorder that you see now with it open was only compounded by having it closed. So we ended up removing that pilot based on those safety concerns on the 26th. So one other thing that we did, this was not even on our radar, at the March meeting that we had with you all, was to do some additional data collection and near-miss analysis using a tool that has recently been made available to us. And Margaret Kublins is the one who coordinated that, so I'm going to hand the mic over to her. She's our Smart Mobility Manager.
Thank you, Brandon. So just to set the stage, what you're going to observe is the company is called Quality Counts. There are other vendors that do this as well. And they do video. They record the conditions at intersections or any location along corridors. And they've been doing this across the country. And they've developed some really good artificial intelligence in order to do the analytics. We're very interested because this isn't the only location. So just to set the stage of what we were observing. So they set up their counters on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday on the 5th, 6th, and 7th of September. And during that period, we had several events that were going on. Not a lot, obviously not a lightning game, but we had the statewide Florida Planning Conference here at the Convention Center, which was over 1,000 attendees during Thursday and Friday. We also, over at the Marriott, was the Florida Automated Vehicle Summit, which I just so happened to speak at. But they also, so that was on Thursday and Friday as well. And they also, as a part of that, the automated vehicle demonstration, they had a vehicle there called Beep that they were doing a demonstration of. So they closed Water Street just east of Franklin, between Franklin and Florida. And so that was closed from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. on Thursday, and then on Friday, it was 9 a.m. to about noon. And then in addition to that, so like typical conventions, one's wrapping up, the planning conference wrapped up on Friday, as well as the Florida Automated Vehicle Summit, and then the Star City Games, it's called the SGN conference, that started on Friday. So that was going on Friday and Saturday. So that's kind of the activity that we were recording. So they recorded for 3 full days, and during that period, they recorded 39,100 cars that were traveling around on Franklin. And then they counted 15,800 pedestrians and 510 cyclists. So this is no small feat. There's a lot of activity that we're experiencing through the area. So the near-miss technology, the way the algorithm works is that if you have, you'll see well, I can go ahead and start showing you this. Nope, there it goes. Okay, so those trajectory lines, that's going to show where you have a pedestrian and then where you have the vehicle. And so it's showing, when it calls it near miss, there's like a 3-second, those trajectories are within 3 seconds of each other. And so those are the counts that they're actually measuring. And you can see the behavior of the pedestrians as well as the behavior of drivers. And some of the drivers aren't counted as being a potential conflict. So here, this isn't the only one, but this is where a pedestrian walked around the streetcar. Fortunately, it was a southbound streetcar. Here you can see where people are at Greco crosswalk, and it's not just the one that shows the trajectory of the drivers. So you can see how people are moving along the corridor and how they're using the crosswalks or not. Let's see. I have several of these videos. And these are just clips. We have a lot of these that are available. So even, there's several in here when I was observing it where we have drivers that aren't stopping, like they are legally supposed to stop when the pedestrian is in the crosswalk. Fortunately, we have that pedestrian refuge area in the middle, so in the island, pedestrians can cross a single lane at a time. That was interesting. You have someone that's making a U-turn. So the scooters, those individuals, they just slowed down, and then they were able to cross there, but then a driver was coming southbound. And this information is for us it helps guide us to decisions. It doesn't say that this is what we're going to strictly rely on, but it does give us the opportunity to observe just generally what the behaviors are, because it's very influential in us understanding, because you can't be there all the time. And so it's just like when we do traffic counting, we don't always, it depends on what day we count. And so it's hard to get all that data in there, and then which day are you going to count. So these are just some examples of why we're interested in considering signalization.
So the scooters group the cycles?
Yes, because of the speed. That's a very good question. Thank you.
Is there a lane plan intersection? Because part of the problem is the lane sinks.
Okay.
Especially that second new crossing that you put in on the north side of the intersection of Franklin and Water Street, that one specifically going east-west, is horribly lit.
Okay,
So
thank
these
you.
things can happen because you can't see anybody in that crosswalk.
Having crosswalks next to crosswalk, next to crosswalk, doesn't help you.
Actually-
Space them out.
Okay, so that's why we like to observe the pedestrian behavior and see how it's going, and those are very good insights. I appreciate that. And then this person decided to just cross in the middle of the
You
intersection.
can't see that second.
So, and here they are on the south side crosswalk, and yet, the drivers didn't stop for them either. That group did, but the initial did not. So those are things that we'd like to observe and see how the behavior is on both sides. You know, whether it's a pedestrian, cyclist, or whether it's a driver. Yes, ma'am?
I discarded the pictures here. Were they pictures shown when there's a conference in town and lots of people crossing all over the place?
Yes.
Did you capture those pictures?
Yes, we actually, it depends on which day, so I do have a breakdown, not on this sheet, but there are, over the course of those days, there were 39,000 vehicles and 16,000 pedestrians that crossed the road over the course of the 3 days. And there were conferences, so there was the planning conference here of over 1,000 attendees, and then there was a conference going on at the Marriott, as well as there was a demonstration project, as well as there was another conference that was starting on Friday here and ran into Saturday. So yes, there was activity.
Excuse me.
And
One of the things that you're not showing there, which is very dangerous, is the cars making a left turn at the Marriott Hotel. You have 2 lanes, one going straight and one making a left turn. Now, the cars that are going straight, if the car making the left turn is stopped because they can't go because there's other traffic, you cannot see the pedestrians. That crosswalk should be blocked. I've seen many times close doors, because scooters just go right across, cars are going straight, staying on the bridge, and people walk and look at their phone, thinking they have to run away, because the car on the left stopped.
Yes.
They don't realize it stopped because there's too much traffic in front of the hotel. So you gotta block that sidewalk for safety reasons.
Well, that's what, the way you described that, that's what we would term as a multi-threat crash, when you have 2 lanes that, for the vehicles to move, to drive. And so we consider that a multi-threat crash. And so actually, the traffic signals help resolve that issue, because it controls when the pedestrians are crossing, and then it gives the designation for when the drivers go. So it actually helps build in that control.
I understand what you're saying, however, a lot of people that are here on conventions are not gonna pay attention to the traffic. They're gonna cross when they think it's clear.
Well, I think a
But
lot,
if you block it, they're not gonna cross at all. And right 10 feet from that area is another cross.
So some of these concerns are going to be addressed as we move along on the presentation itself. And we're happy to have the conversation. I think in order to just move with the presentation itself, hopefully some of those questions will be answered as we go through. And if not, then we can make sure to have that conversation afterwards. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, Mike, please, Mike.
6-foot diameter
Mike.
palm cutting. Let me finish.
Mike.
6-foot diameter palm cuttings that have been between the bus stop and the Joe Greco crossing for 3 weeks. I've got pictures of them. If we're so concerned about pedestrians, why aren't you cleaning up the palm cuttings? They're right there. They cause a hazard. People have to walk around there.
Well, again, happy to have that conversation afterwards. I don't know what the palm cuttings that are out there are. I'm happy to, and we can follow up with the people who, I'm not gonna go out there myself and pick them up, but I can definitely.
I just asked you, why are they there? You're a senior, you're a chair or whatever person in charge.
Sorry?
Well, you're in charge of the building or whatever, how you announce yourself. You know, which is pedestrian traffic in that area, and you have this blockade there of about 3 feet high, 6-foot diameter of palm cuttings that have been there for 3 weeks. Aren't you concerned about that as a hazard?
Well, no one's brought that up until now. I appreciate you bringing it up. I will follow up. I promise you I will follow up. But it is a temporal issue. It is something that's there now that can be fixed, and that does not speak to the ongoing issues. So one of the things that I think we should, that I would like to go over is, at the conclusion of that March 26th meeting, we did put out a survey for any of you to respond to. We asked some very specific questions, particularly about signalization, about safety, and about the stretch of roadway in question, of course. We left that open for a month. It was May 26th. I think that's actually meant to say March 26th through April 26th. the night of the meeting for a month. And we got 35 people, presumably from the meeting mostly, who responded to that survey. Of those 35, 31 said, I live on Harbor Island. And the remaining 4 said, I live and work on Harbor Island. So this is your community giving the feedback. We asked...
The survey. I was definitely on the list. I didn't receive an invitation.
Nor did we.
So we put the QR code up at the time, so I'm not sure what...
Letters, and we never got a survey. It would have been sent.
How could a survey be legitimate if it wasn't presented to the SNA?
Yeah.
To work it to be given to the rest? How could it be considered?
In other words, every week you send us a traffic count thing for this area. Why this was so important, would you not send us to the leaders?
So it's
Let me finish, so that we could circulate that, so you could have had a larger response. So if there is a methodology between the city and Hickson and South neighborhood for communication, but you didn't follow that method that we've been using for over a year.
So the meeting was open to all residents, and it's a common practice to provide a survey at the end of the meeting. I'm not sure.
It's a dodge. It's a dodge. It's a dodge.
No, we need to have better communication.
And I live on Harbor Island. Thank you. I received the survey.
Well, I apologize for people that didn't get the survey, but I know anybody who was at the meeting, I was there. We announced about 5 times, please take the survey.
Would you do it the way you normally communicate? Why would you have done that?
We were trying to reach the people
But
in
no,
that.
we reach the people. We have their emails. We know how to reach our people.
You don't have my email.
Okay, well, it is what it is, so we.
I'd like to go over the results of the survey.
35 people published the survey.
Fair enough. I mean, we opened it to everyone. We didn't
I mean,
email
why
it.
don't you reissue it so that we can, I distribute it to Hickson, Larry will distribute to SNA, and you'll have really what it would be a true survey of enough of a population that you would get proper information.
Can I suggest we finish up the presentation?
Thank you very much. So from those responses that we did receive, we had one question. The first question was about what are the biggest causes of congestion. It was a question that you could select multiple options for. So we had 97 responses altogether. And unsurprisingly, major event traffic was the #1 choice. That seems in keeping with the field level reality. But it was interesting to note that the second highest choice was pedestrian and bicyclist behavior. Again, not a huge surprise. I think that's generally the focus of what we've talked about and what we've shown. And the conflicts that we showed, that Margaret showed on those near-miss videos, generally were between pedestrians and bicyclists and vehicles. There were a couple that were multi-vehicle conflicts as well. We also asked, do you feel it is safe to walk along or across Franklin Street from Channelside Drive to Harbor Island Boulevard? And generally, the response was yes. So 27 people said it was safe, 7 said it was not safe, and then we had 1 that said not sure. We also asked, when combining those two, the tool itself, it's a platform called ZenCity, and it gives us some feedback and some analysis just right out of the gate that we can take a look at as a first pass. One thing that I appreciate about it is that it removes any sort of filter that I would maybe tend to put on it if I'm looking directly at the data. So it gives us a first pass. It's not always going to be, give you the answer that is going to solve everything. But I think it's interesting to review and helpful as well. So when combining those two questions, do you feel it is safe to walk along or across Franklin Street, and what contributes to congestion? And taking a look at those responses, the platform itself gave us the following. It said, according to the online survey, the majority of respondents feel safe walking along or across Franklin Street and attribute congestion to major event traffic. Again, that tracks. However, pedestrian behavior also significantly contributes to traffic congestion, especially among those residents who don't feel safe. So if you feel like there's a safety issue out there, it generally would be tied back to your perception of how people are walking and biking. Therefore, it is recommended to address pedestrian behaviors and manage major event traffic to improve road safety and reduce congestion. Another question that we did ask was, do you support signalization? And the tool, when combining the two questions, do you feel it is safe to walk along or across Franklin Street? And do you support signalization? Gave us the following response. It said, a significant portion of residents who feel safe walking along or across Franklin Street somewhat support adding signals. Interestingly, most of those who don't feel safe are strongly opposed to adding signals. However, there's a notable subset amongst them, a strong support for adding traffic signals indicating presence of contrasting views within the group. So, short answer, short summation of that is mixed results. We also asked, this is very similar to the earlier question, but we asked, do you feel it is safe to drive along or across Franklin Street from Channelside to Harbor Island Boulevard? Very similar response with the switch of one person. I'm assuming that it's the same subset. It was 7-1 and 27 on the first question, but this one, 7 people said it was not safe to drive, 2 said it was not sure, and 2 said that it was safe to drive. Sorry, 26 said it was safe to drive. And then coming back to the question of signalization, we gave a range of options about supporting or opposing adding signals on Franklin Street. When combining those on the favorable side, as well as combining those on the opposition side for simplicity, you can see it was 13 to 16, a slightly higher number opposed. And then the next question was, to what extent do you think controlling pedestrians would make it easier to access Harbor Island by car? And for this question, the responses had a much more dramatic shift. It was 2-1 in favor of controlling pedestrian crossings as opposed to not controlling them. And really the practical way for us to control the intersection and the crosswalk is to signalize it.
Who said it? You just made a statement.
I'm saying that. I'm saying that right now.
No, but, so you're saying that that's the only solution?
I'm saying it's the practical solution.
I don't buy that. That's your opinion.
Okay?
I'm
Thank you.
just-
Thank you for showing
Somebody
me.
else can join in, but you made a statement, an affirmative statement, that that's the only.
No, that's not what I said. I said that's the practical way for us to control pedestrian crossings. So when combining the feedback across all questions, the data analysis read as follows. Most residents who responded to the survey feel it's safe to walk along or across Franklin Street. And they tend to either somewhat support or are neutral towards the addition of signals. There's a noticeable group of residents who feel it's unsafe to traverse the street and strongly support adding signals. Considering these results, it is recommended to examine the feasibility of adding signals on Franklin Street to enhance perceived safety, especially among the group who feel it's currently unsafe to walk. So again, when it comes to signals and the potential to signal the crosswalk and Water Street, the primary benefit to motorists is that it provides positive guidance, it provides clear expectations to both the driver and the pedestrian. Those videos that Margaret showed, again, they're just a sampling, but what I see in those videos is a fairly chaotic scenario. There are people who are drivers not yielding to pedestrians. There are pedestrians making risky maneuvers as well, but clarifying the expectations for how one should behave at a situation like this is something that we can do by signalizing the intersection.
When you say signalize, is it the yellow flashing lights?
No, it'll be the red, yellow, green. It'd be a traditional traffic signal.
Because walking along and walking across are two
But not the yellow flashing.
huge things.
You're right.
I use the crosswalk on the other bridge all the time, but there isn't one here, and it's
Where do you think?
Going across, walking along, I should totally say, walking across.
So you saw the problems on the convention side, putting up a fence so people couldn't go back and forth. Just the other day, I see somebody right in the middle of Embassy Suites, walk across the track, come across the road, weaving in and out, cross the grass median, stand in the road while cars are coming, and then they run across, and now they're walking with their back to the traffic to get around the fence. Now, we used to experience that all the time coming from the convention center. You fixed that. Thank you very much. We feel way safer with that fence there. Have you thought about putting a fence in the areas that the pedestrians shouldn't cross so we don't have to worry? And this company that did that, they were middle-aged and they looked reasonable. Well, some people might consider that stupid, but you know, I'm just gonna say it was poor judgment. It was shocking, what they did. And so now they're standing in the road because cars are coming, you know, they've been on Platt, and so now they're turning, cars are turning. These two people suddenly realize cars are coming, they stand in the road, and every car avoided them. You did not have a death and a potential negligent homicide action against that driver, because at least they saw him.
Yeah, I mean, I think no matter.
Can you put up a fence? Isn't that cheaper than someone being killed? The city is going to get sued when those people come across. They're going to get sued. Save yourself some money.
Can you help me to understand? You're saying the city's gonna get sued if someone crosses at a signal? Is it
No,
like if we
they
put
were
the
not
signal?
at a signal. They crossed literally between two crosswalks about midway on next to Embassy Street. They're just crossing. There are no crosswalks. Just weaving their way around cars, over the grass or the plant median, now standing in the road. They're nowhere near a crosswalk. People make foolish decisions. I saw
Yeah,
two
that's-
women do the identical thing, but what they did with their lattes from Starbucks, they go across the grass median. Now they're walking along up on the right next to the fence on the convention side. People do foolish things. Put a fence up. Put a
Okay.
fence up on the
You're
Embassy
exactly
Street
right.
side.
I mean, being a traffic engineer for almost 40 years now, you're exactly right. The most challenging thing that we deal with is human behavior. You think that we're into all this technology, which we are, but all that technology, automated vehicles, connected vehicles, all that information is being developed in the name of safety. And really what it gets down to is we are in the human behavior business.
And they are.
There is no question about it. And so it takes multiple tools. And what you just described, we see it all over the city. But unfortunately, at this location, drivers are going at speeds that are safer. So they can hit their brakes and avoid a collision. Fortunately, in those 3 days that they recorded it, we weren't close. So we need to, if you don't mind, could we just please finish the presentation? And we'd really like to get through this. So I'm here to tell you, we plan to put in the traffic signals.
That's it.
It's an engineering decision, it's data-driven, there is a lot of data, that's why we got more. So the signals reduce the random crossings. It gives the organization to what we need to manage. We need to manage the pedestrians, and we need to manage the pedestrians, and we need to manage drivers. We're giving it, we're designating it, so it's more like, it's like.
Why are we here? If you're going to tell us, you're basically telling us what you guys are gonna do. There's not gonna be any additional discussion. to listen to how we feel about this and what our expertise is. Is that, am I getting that right?
We have tens of thousands of people that we have to address. And we have listened to the concerns, and we are bringing those in. We've made the changes, we made the modifications on
So
channel.
again, you're just here to tell us what the city is doing, not to hear us anymore. Is that it? Because if that's it, I'm gonna.
Yes.
There's
We are going
There's
to,
no reason to stay for me if you're not gonna listen to what we have to say.
well, we would like to explain why we arrived at the decision.
It doesn't matter.
Why does it not matter?
Survey 35 people.
Yes.
We opened the survey to everyone during the last meeting. No, we're not dying on that. We've listened. This has been an issue.
Stop. When I was at the meeting in 2020, I've been involved in this process for 4 years. I did not come to this meeting when you're talking about the survey. And there are, you know how many people live on Harbor Island. You're talking about your, what's this quick data thing, whatever.
5,000 in North Lamar.
15,000 cars, how many people are walking? You're basing your survey on 35 responses?
Right.
No, you're misunderstanding. We're getting, it's one more, it's another piece of information. This is layered. The decisions that we need to make are layered. That's why, if you could just give us a few minutes, I'm gonna finish the presentation and then we can have further discussion.
Yeah.
This is stupid.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
I do
So,
surveys for a living, that's what I do, and I did actually take the survey, I was one of the survey people. This was possibly the worst constructed survey I've ever seen. And it's partly because there was actually no option for, would you like barriers? It was only a survey about, do you want signals?
Geared towards what you
Well,
want.
if I may finish, I just want to tell you, it's not really about the survey. I think you went into it deciding you wanted to justify signals, instead of saying, what about signals or barriers? I think what you're hearing from people here is that barriers is essential, because even with signals, people are going to cross in the wrong way.
Right.
well, the barriers aren't going to really do it either. So at some point, they need to cross the road.
Fence works that was put out.
But they still
We're gonna
need to cross the
now,
road.
nobody walks through it except that 1 in 100,000 person. You're wrong. You look at what's on the other side, you have bollards, you have benches, you have temporary fence type things there. There's nothing permanent on the side where the Embassy Suites is to stop traffic. And if you did that the correct way and geared it towards the intersections, which makes more sense, especially at Channel Side, where when people who aren't from here cross that intersection and go into, they actually walk into the convention auditorium instead of crossing the Greco crosswalk and walking into a cul-de-sac. That's a
we
major
still-
difference for safety. And then you have the convention auditorium not having any control of traffic, leaving the cul-de-sac, allowing left-hand turns during major events. It slows up traffic. Are you sure you want to talk to me about it? I know a lot more about what really happens than you do.
So we still have to address the people crossing the intersection. I mean, they need to cross the road, excuse me. So they, and we have,
If I could, I just want to add to it, the final thing is, I'm actually okay with signals. I'm one of the people who said I'm okay with signals, but only if there are also barriers.
Right.
Right. It's the barriers that make
You can put all the signals you want in. There's so much across where they want it. You can't fix stupid. Some people have to get to the convention center right now. They can't wait to go 15 feet down the crossing. If you put a barrier up, you're gonna force them. It's like cattle. You gotta push them where you want them to go. And when you have a major convention going on here, that's what you have. People crossing where they want. When you had one convention, you had people stopping in the middle of Franklin Street to let the people out because the cul-de-sac is closed. There's no drop-off area. There were no police to stop these people from stopping in the middle of the street, letting people out, right on Franklin Street. You need to have signals, you need to have barriers, and you need to have police presence on major conventions and events. Otherwise,
Yes.
people are going to get
there's,
killed.
so,
People are going to die out there, and it's going to be on their shoulders.
well, you end up
It's not what you
getting
could do.
congestion, so.
My name is Don. Part of the problem is that there's a continuous stream of people chances, but if the traffic lights only way that people, as opposed to having people for 5
Sir,
minutes
can
of
you
each
stop?
walking across.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear everything that you said.
You talk about that.
So it's not just a matter of putting in the traffic signal, but it's the barriers to help guide people to the locations where they need to cross. And that's similar to what would do like at a university area. Same thing, and there's a lot of different locations that we could consider that.
But you're saying
Absolutely.
it's likely
So
there would be barriers in addition to the light?
that is not a part of the current plan.
Can we see your
we're-
plan?
There's a lot that we're having to,
I'd like to see the plan, and then we can pick it apart afterwards. But obviously, you guys have some solution you want to present to us. I'd like to see your presentation finished, and then we can pick it apart.
I agree.
It's the same presentation we made 2 meetings ago.
no, it's not finalized.
So you're having something you're gonna force down us and you haven't finalized, so that's not fair. It's not fair.
No, we presented a finalized design.
Let's see where you get to with this.
So from an urban design perspective, the reason why we actually are even considering this is because of the land use. Because land use is what generates traffic. And so in this area specifically, of course, we have the convention center, and then we have the arena. And so those are the key anchor points of the origin and destinations. In between, we have parking. That's where, obviously a lot of vehicles are there, but then you also have your pedestrians. Your pedestrians are coming out of the parking garage. And then you have the hotels, both the Embassy Suites, you've got the Marriott and the JW right in this vicinity. And then the other thing that's attractive, of course, is the Riverwalk. So that gives you access to so many other things to enjoy within the city as well. And so it's really important, and those are the things that we're considering in this big picture of what we're trying to accomplish in urban design. So it's important to understand that very specifically, the reason why the crosswalk at Greco is so important is because this is the desire line. This is the desire line of pedestrians going from the Riverwalk all the way up to Thunder Alley. And so you can see in this example that this is like the travel path that people, when you observe a lot of pedestrians, this is the desire. Because all along the way, you pick up the parking, the people that have parked, and then you have the hotels. And so someone in the last meeting, they also brought up that it didn't make sense to do the crossing here. It actually does. Because throughout the city, this is our natural location. So it's not a mid-block crossing, this is just another block crossing. Putting it there at the crosswalk. Again, it makes it a very simple intersection operation, it's just a two-phase signal. And so,
Say that again, the two-phase signal where?
yes, thank you. It's north-south, so essentially you're serving the drivers, and then you stop the drivers, and then you serve the pedestrians. So that's 2 phases, it goes.
Right, I understand that's
Okay.
the signal on the channel side and over the bridge. That's the signal you're talking about.
Yes, I was referring, I'm sorry I didn't bring a pointer, but yeah, these are standard block lengths for the city of Tampa, the distance between these two. And then this is channel side, and so you can see that that distance is similar to that distance.
Right, well, channel side has a light coming through the tunnel, and then you're gonna put a light down by the Marriott, on Water Street, thank you. But then, so we have a light on Water Street, which South Neighborhood Association, which represents everybody south of the gate, has already voted on this and came across with some suggestions, which I would think should be looked into and honored since we represent the residents of that area. But, so we have coming off the bridge to exit, and then we stop to let the pedestrians cross and the cars make their turns. And then we come up to Greco and stop again because lots of people are crossing and crossing and crossing.
Now, that's a really good question, because, if, I do have a simulation of the way it'll operate to share with you. And we would actually have one traffic signal controller that would control both of the intersections. And so we will coordinate it So those both, like, essentially if someone pushes the button to cross here, then we can set it up so this intersection stops for the vehicles. The drivers have to stop here, and then the pedestrians cross here. And then it actually will not turn this red unless there was a call there. But then they would be controlled where they're going at the same time. So we have ways to, we have a lot of different ports, and we can control who has the green light and who doesn't. So for the pedestrians,
Red, different times when at the Greco crossing versus the Franklin and Water Street. In other words, if you were stopped at Water Street, would it ever, when it turned green at Water Street in Franklin, would it ever then be red at the Greco crossing?
it would only be for a few seconds if, no, wait. No. I didn't say that exactly right. So the probability is that you would hit both traffic signals green. Like once you start up from one, you're going to get through the next. We did time it that way, but there are some chances that you may be for a few seconds that you would not hit them both because we have to do it in both directions. So it's not a one-way street, so you don't have the opportunity to control it that much. We have bi-directional.
The problem you have is Nick, I showed him the video where sometimes your systems fail, where on Saturdays, at channel side, Franklin going north, the channel side, the light is only 12 seconds. I have a video of it. You have seen the video.
That is a glitch.
Okay, but it happens.
But that is just a
happened.
glitch. We think that.
Was it a mistake?
No.
You remember right now, there's the planes, the satellite, not satellite, sorry, the Starship, the space, then because issue, they cannot bring those astronauts back to use SpaceX. This from Boeing, right? Any equipment, there are some collisions.
It was an
cannot see
equipment failure, wasn't
100%. No, any equipment is no problem at all. Nobody can see that. Nobody can see that, right? So this is the science, the rocket science from Boeing, right? They have that ship. Right now, they cannot bring our astronaut back. They have more people, they're doing those kind of things. So that's just small glacier, it cannot become small glaciers, you're saying.
It was a mistake.
So, no, it wasn't a mistake. It was a failure of the equipment, wasn't it?
Same thing.
Well, and we have new, I mean, we just wrapped up a $40 billion project for the,
You understand where.
Let's just let them finish our presentation.
I'm still waiting to let them finish their presentation, is why I came here, not to hear everybody's individual concern. Let us listen. I've been here 40 minutes now, waiting for them to make a presentation. Let them finish.
okay, so this is our simulation of the conditions. The previous slide was showing the overall. So we do have a complete system. This is representing and showing what's going on with Channelside Drive. And now this is down at Greco Plaza. You can see that there are little teeny tiny pedestrians crossing there. And then here's where they're going green. You have green down at Water Street, excuse me. And then it goes red, and then you're serving your pedestrians. So Nick has a simulation that's up on the computer, and it'll be much easier to see. So this view shows how it's also tied up to Broreen. I'm sorry the lighting and the video, it's just not very large and it's difficult to see. I didn't anticipate that. But it does show down here as you progress up. We actually will time these signals down at at these two new ones. They're gonna be served twice as often as what you do with Channelside. And the purpose is that, so you're serving the drivers and pedestrians frequently.
Is there a traffic phase that's guaranteed to happen, like if a green light will last a certain amount of time? And who has
Can we just
priority?
finish the presentation? This is a question.
This is about that right there.
Yeah.
I think some people just want to get through the presentation and.
She's showing the phases. I'm trying to ask about the phases specifically.
If you want to come up here at the end, you can actually see the
Yeah.
Is there a minimum time?
Yeah, for the green band, we refer to that as the green band, so you can progress from one intersection to the other, and yes, we do have that staged out, absolutely.
You know how long it is?
I don't remember. I'm on the time space diagram.
30 seconds?
30 seconds to
Yeah,
the band?
it's also depends on kind of time of day. In the rush hour, it's longer.
It's a program.
Yeah, during the all long rush hours, it's shorter. It's all depends on volume, right? If you don't want people waiting too long, and meantime, you do not want people queuing up. So that's the trick is that we have the appropriate the cycle length to deal with that. Yeah, it depends on traffic volume.
All right, let's go on with the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, and then this is the last slide, so you want to wrap it up?
This is it. So, like I mentioned, Nick up here has the simulation. If you want to take a closer look, we knew it would be a little bit difficult to see on the screen, but we wanted to at least give you a high-level view of it. He can get into some of the details. If you have timing questions that are very specific, he can get into that. And we also have some displays over here that are some of the replicas of what was in the slideshow itself. But from here, what I'd like to do is to have some smaller groups for discussion. This has been a little bit, dominant by some in the room, and I think it would be easier for some who might not be as comfortable getting up and talking to everyone or holding a microphone to just have those discussions with some of us in the room. So you are not at all obligated to stay, but we're happy to answer any questions. I'm going to come over here. You can come on up.
You mentioned people. that we're going wherever.
No, I got a text. And we have people we're looking at putting the game by stop people from coming in and holding it out. You're going to extend the front drive is right now. It's rolling. So when there's no issues, come in, drop off. When it's full, I can explore the bar, and then people choose. And once that parking lot is full, the gate gets attached.
So how do you put a barrier in the center? You can only enter from right. So if you were coming from Harvard Island and entering
they don't go down for the physical parking. Make one look at that seems, I was like, why would we not do that? Or at least say, look at it. their property. That's why it's like.
So you would say lose the crosswalk that's closer to Platt Street?
I want, the only crosswalk I want is the other side.
And then you'd be okay with barriers? Is it a glitch or a mistake?
They were had a lot of people from public comment. Did they? When I last saw it, they were still on the social.
Yeah, same. All right, see you.
Yeah.